scratch myself with my sharp pencil.
We'll go over the homework. And then we're going into the third form. So we've done standard form of an equation, slope-intercept form of an equation, which was yesterday. And now we're doing point-slope form. In slope-intercept form, your graph or your equation tells you the slope and it tells you the intercept. In point-slope form, it's going to tell you a coordinate point and it's going to tell you the slope. So it's just a bunch of different forms to write equations depending on what information you know. But if you go to the homework from yesterday, we'll go over it. So take a look at number 1, which was Greg and his remote control car. Any questions on number 1? Anybody at home? Anybody in here? We did a lot of work with this in here this morning with you guys. But any questions on number 1? Strategy for these is to make a table. So I took out what I knew in the problem. So he started the timer and the car was 5 feet away. So at time 0 it was 5. At time 2 it was 35 feet away. Once you organize it into a table, you can find the slope. So I did that and found that the slope was 15. And then for part B, I did the strategy we did yesterday where we plugged everything in to write the whole equation. And then after 10 seconds, I plugged that into my equation to figure it out. And then number 2 was just straightforward, find the equations for the lines. There was a lot of fractions in there. If you wrote your fraction in different forms, it's fine. I kind of went back and forth with what I was writing. Decimals, mixed impropers. But were you all good with number 1 and number 2? Yeah, Rose. Something wrong again?
Oh no, I just got a question about like 2.
What about it?
So, how did you find the y coordinates? If the slope is a half, then how does that make it? Okay, never mind. I lost my complete train of thought. I'm sorry.
Are you talking about 2a?
Yeah.
So my slope was 1/2. So then I plugged this coordinate in. Right, we're always using this.
Yeah.
Your y coordinate equals the slope times the x coordinate, and then whatever your y intercept is. So my y coordinate is 2. My slope is 1/2. My x coordinate is 4. I'm trying to figure out what that plus y intercept is. So when I multiply a half times 4, you get 2. So then if I solve this and subtract 2 from both sides, you get 0.
Yeah.
So you don't have a y intercept.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like why didn't you add b but then b was 0? So.
Yeah.
Is that the e and 1/2 for b? Okay, I got -1.
So -3/4 times 6, because that's your x coordinate, is -18/4. I reduced that to 9/2, which is -4.5. And then I added 4.5 to the 4. Right.
Where do I get 4.5 from 3/4 times 6?
3 times 6 is 18. I reduced 18/4 by cutting them both in half, 9/2. Oh, it's negative. I'm just writing negatives. -3/4. So it's going to be negative.
Wait, how did I get
That's what you get. 6 times 3/4. I don't know how you did it in your head, but 6 times 3/4 is 4.5. You just forgot your negative sign.
that? I mean, like, how did I get -1/2?
Because you subtracted 4.5 from 4, which is -1/2. Just because your sign is wrong.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So you did everything right, but like the fact, like if I didn't have that minus sign here, then I would be subtracting 4.5. But since it is negative, then I'm adding it. Any other questions on that? Yeah, Rose.
So like if the fraction's negative, does it matter which one? Like if I make the numerator, okay. So only one of them's a negative.
Right, because then if you had both, it would turn into something positive. No, but it doesn't matter. Typically, I try to put it out front. I either put it out front or in the top number. You normally don't see it in the bottom, but it really doesn't matter too much. Anything else about that? Yeah, go ahead.
I got so 0.4 is 2/5, right?
Yes.
Okay, I got -4 and 2/5. I think I I just added.
Oh, no, I thought, oh, you might have forgot your negative sign here again too. Because you have two negatives that make a positive.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But that's why, like, if you show work and it's something so simple like that with a little minus sign, like if I would have noticed that you did everything right and you just missed your minus sign, I might not even take any points off. Because you're understanding the goal of what it is, you just forgot a little teeny tiny minus sign somewhere.
So I think I did get mine. I got 2 and 2/5 for -3 this time. Negative.
Right. Oh, yeah, I subtracted one, yeah, you're right. That should be -4. Because this is -2, minus 2 and 2/5 is -4 and 2/5. That's what I'm saying.
I have B equals -4.4, and I would like
That's
to
right.
know.
No, that's right, that's what I was saying to her.
Okay.
That's my typo of the day.
Okay.
There's always one of them. Make my answer keys at 7:30 in the morning. But that is, because you have -2 minus 2 and 2/5. -2 minus 2 is -4, and then you have the 2/5. So that's right. Number 3 I know was a little bit difficult. When it asked for the cost for each, that's kind of just another way to think about the slope. So the cost for each that you pay a fee, so I organized my table into the articles where you paid a fee for. So 30 were 49.15, 33 articles were 57.40. I found the slope there and it came out to 275. So then you were kind of trying to find your y-intercept for B. We had to pay attention to the fact that 25 of them were $0. So I was trying to scale my articles down to 25 because that's when your payment started. So what was that value when your payment started would be your subscription fee.
I was like really confused, and it kind of doesn't make that much sense because if there's 30 magazines, isn't it asking how much each magazine is? So wouldn't you just do 30 divided by 49?
Well, you can't because it's not a constant change because for the first 25 you're not paying anything. So whatever you get there isn't going to be the same through that whole table. So you have to figure out what that subscription fee is for the first 25 magazines. Because you have your fees where like they're just charging you to sign up to the company and then they're paying you per magazine. But they're giving you 25 magazines free. They're still charging you some amount, but not for the magazine. And then after that, you have to figure out what it is per magazine. Any other questions on that one? And then number 4. We did a lot with this in first period. Do you guys in here have any other questions about it? We worked on this a lot. Anybody at home have questions about number 4? You had to find an equation to represent how much money she had, an equation to figure out how much money she was saving. And then part C asked you to subtract them. So how much money is in your account versus how much money you're spending. I'm sorry, I said saving. How much money you're spending. If you subtract them, it gets how much is left in her account after any time T. And then when will she run out of money is whenever you have 0 in the money column. So I solved it for W and got about 29 weeks.
How did you make that last equation there?
This one? So for part C, and this is so messy, it's driving me nuts that I wrote this so messy. Do you know what I did here?
You subtracted the amount that she is getting minus the amount that she's spending.
Right. Money for M, how much money is in her account minus how much she's spending. So I subtracted my life terms. 5,000 minus 600 is 4,400. 100W minus 250W is negative 150W. And then what does this represent? How much money is in her account at any time. So I just said that's equal to the amount of money that she has. If it's asking you when she runs out of money, that means this value has to be 0. Or when is her money that she has set equal to 0. And then I solved it to figure out what number of weeks is going to drain her whole account. Does that make sense? Are we okay with that? Are we good with all of the homework yesterday? Okay, our last form of an equation is point slope form. So again, it's gonna start getting confusing because there's a lot of different equations flying around. They're all different forms meant, like depending on what's given in a problem, one form is easier than the other. So if I have a problem that gives me a slope and an intercept, then we can quickly write an equation in slope-intercept form. However, if all I'm given is a point and a slope, and I don't know what the intercept is, like what we did yesterday, I'm gonna do all of that algebra, there's a different equation. So one is not more correct than the other, it's kind of just a matter of preference on which one you like better. But up until this point, we should be able to do these two questions. So question number 1 says, write the equation of a line going through the point -3, 8 that has a slope of -2. What did I do? I put it away. Okay. So up until this point, everything we know right now is in slope-intercept form. M is your slope, B is your intercept. So if I want to write an equation of a line, given a point and a slope, this is just what we did yesterday. So what do I plug in for y? Right? 8 equals, what's my slope? -2 times the x value to find the y-intercept. So 8 equals 6 plus b. So what's the y-intercept of the line? 2. So then my equation, y equals -2x plus 2. Slope-intercept form. You can see your intercept, you can see your slope. Write an equation of a line going through the points 0, 9, and 4, -5. So all we're given are 2 points. So what's our first step for that one? Gotta find your slope first, because if it's in slope-intercept form, you need your slope and you need your intercept. So we find the slope, subtract your y coordinates, subtract your x coordinates. Oh, why did I say, oops, -0. You get -14 over 4. I'm gonna just reduce it. Typically, you want to leave your slope as an improper fraction because it tells you how to move, right? If you're graphing, the top number tells you how far up or down, the bottom number tells you how far left or right. If you write it as a mixed number, then it gets all messy, you don't know how to move. So your slope is -7 over 2. What's the y-intercept? Okay, so go through your steps, try to find the y-intercept. When we go over it, you'll see why I kind of phrased it that way. But tell me what the y-intercept of the line is. Because right now we know y equals -7 over 2x. We have to figure out what's that y-intercept will be. Plus b. Your equation is always y equals mx plus b. Not minus b. It's always a plus sign. That's fine. We do that.
I would have done this one.
Well, we haven't.
Yeah.
You plug in your coordinate point, not your slope.
Oh,
That's
yeah, that's.
So what point did we plug in to find the y-intercept? Did it matter? Which one did you pick? Okay, so let's pick 0 now. So 9 is equal to -7 over 2 times 0 plus b. This cancels out, so then you get 9 is equal to b, so your y-intercept is 9. The reason I asked you at first, what's the y-intercept, is because if you notice you have a coordinate point here, and your x value is 0, that's always your y-intercept. So you could have just answered that without going through the math, because we can see right here that this is the coordinate point where it's gonna cross the y-axis. And even by doing the math, we can see we got that same answer. So that's just kind of a shortcut if you notice that you have the coordinate 0, something, that something is your y-intercept. Or you can just always go through the math. But that's what we should know up until now. So we feel comfortable with that. going into a new form. You good, Rose?
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you chose -5, what would happen? Like,
Be the same thing. So that's my y coordinate. So -5 equals -7 over 2 times 4 plus b. -7 over 2 times 4 is going to be what? -28 over 2, which is -5. That's going to be -14 plus b. So then you would add 14 to both sides. -5 plus 14 is still 9. What I said? This, you get the same thing. Is that the point that you picked?
no, I was just curious.
So no matter what, if it's all on the same line, then you're gonna plug it in and you're always gonna get the same thing. Some math is just easier. Like when I look at this, I would pick that one first too because of 0. Doing math with zeros is easier. I don't want to deal with negatives, but you're still gonna get the same thing.
What did you get -9?
If I'm at -5 and I add 14, you're going that one.
Oh, I probably.
Anything else about that? So I'm gonna erase this just so that I can scoot it up a little bit. And that way, I just don't like when there's a lot of stuff on the board because then it seems really intimidating and like we're doing a lot of like crazy brain time. So our second form, or our third form, is point slope. Again, it's gonna start getting confusing because we have all these different forms flying around. One is not more correct than the other, it's just all, what do you have in a problem? What's the easiest version to use? So your point slope form of an equation, y minus a y coordinate, you have the letter y, or your variable y minus the y coordinate, is always going to be equal to your slope times x minus your x coordinate. So if you're given a slope and you're given a coordinate point, and you need to write an equation of a line, all you have to do is plug it into that form. You don't have to worry about finding the y-intercepts, you don't have to worry about calculating b. If you take y minus your y coordinate equal to your slope times x minus your x coordinate, it's going to work itself into the same thing. So if we need to write an equation in point slope form means you need a coordinate point and you need a slope. Through the point 3, -2, we have a coordinate point with a slope of 1/4. So if I'm falling into my form, y minus the y coordinate, what's the y coordinate that would have? -2. So y minus -2 is equal to your slope times x minus, what's our x coordinate? 3.
If you're saying y minus y, wouldn't you just be taking the y coordinate minus the y coordinate?
So this is like the variable y. So this could be any y value. So not like specifically this point, it's y in the equation. So your variable y, which you could plug any other coordinate point into, minus one specific coordinate. If I'm subtracting the negative here and clean that up, what does it turn into?
Y plus 2.
Y plus 2 is equal to 1/4 x minus 3. So that would be your equation of a line. If you're given a point and a slope and you need to write the equation, you can do that. We can rewrite it to look like the form that we did yesterday, slope-intercept form as a side note, just so that we can remember what it looks like. Slope-intercept form, when y is by itself, slope-intercept form tells you the slope and tells you the y-intercept. A different method to form this, other than what we did yesterday, we can write it into point slope form, and we can start to run through algebra to get to here. So if we're looking at this and we want to start simplifying it, what's your first reaction way to do? Rose?
We need to distribute 1/4 into x and -3.
I would try to get rid of my parentheses. So again, this is just point slope form. This is your equation of a line. We're good. Now we're just going through, well, how could I change it into the other form that we did yesterday? So we would have y plus 2 equals 1/4 x. What's 1/4 times -3?
-3/4.
-3/4, so we would be -3/4. Slope-intercept form, my y is by itself. So what do I have left to do here to get y by itself? Subtract 2. So we have y is equal to 1/4 x. What's negative 3/4 minus 2?
Negative 1 and 1/4? No, negative 1 and 3/4.
Negative 0.75 is like about here. And I subtract 1, 2.
Negative 3 and 4.
Three-fourths, I don't know why I remember. So now if we had to graph this, what's the first coordinate point I can plot? If we're looking at this line, this is my y-intercept. So what can I plot?
1/4.
That's my slope. What's the y-intercept in this line?
Negative 3 3/4.
So I can plot that first. So if we come up onto the graph and plot negative 1, 2, 3, and kind of just estimate where it's going to go, there's your first point. What's your slope?
1/4.
1/4. So then we would go up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a different way to get that same equation that we looked at yesterday. This is point slope form. Everyone at home can't see me pointing. This is point slope form, so if it just says write an equation in point slope form, you stop there. That's your equation. You don't really have to do anything but just substitute some stuff in. If you have to graph it, you can translate it into slope intercept form so that you can see your intercept and you can see your slope. And we're gonna do another one that doesn't have as many fractions that might make it seem a little bit simpler. Write an equation in point slope form for the line passing through negative 2, 1 with a slope of negative 6. Yeah,
If we go, if y isn't a coordinate point, then why would we have like y equals mx plus b? We put y in as the y coordinate.
so y stands for any coordinate. The reason I didn't plug it in here, like the reason why in this one I didn't do like negative 2 minus negative 2 like you said, is because I need to leave one variable in the equation that I can plug anything else into that I wanted to. I'm specifically taking one coordinate point to plug it into my equation, just like we did in the other yesterday. Plugging one coordinate point in, this represents any other x value you can think of, any other y value that you can think of. But I'm restricting these two to be this specific coordinate point so that it passes through that point with that slope. And if I generate that line, then any other x and y value that I can find has that same slope. So again, point slope form, I need a coordinate point and I need a slope. So your point slope form, your general form, y minus your y coordinate equals your slope times x minus your x coordinate. And then you plug everything in. So what is a y coordinate that I know? Easy.
1.
Y minus 1. So that's saying that once I formulate my equation and I find a line that goes through this coordinate point with this slope, any y value minus 1 is going to be the same as taking the slope of this line times whatever its x coordinate is minus negative 2. So any other coordinate point that you find on that line, you're going to be able to plug in, and you're still going to get the same thing. How can I clean up the right-hand side? Easy.
You can do x plus 2.
Y minus your y coordinate equals your slope times x plus 2 because I don't like the negative. So that's your equation. We answered the question, write it in point slope form. Then it says to graph it. We could graph it from here. We could translate it into slope intercept form. Okay, so if we do that just to practice going between forms. So this was step 1, we found the equation, we're good. Now we're working on step 2, which is graphing. We like to graph in slope intercept form because it shows us the intercept and it shows us the slope. So what can I do to start rewriting the slope intercept?
Negative 6 into x and 2.
Distribute my negative 6 in. So if y minus 1 was negative 6x minus 12. Then more.
You add 1.
Add 1. So you can see, it seems a little simpler now that we're not all getting clogged up with fractions. we're just solving an equation. Negative 12 plus 1. Negative 11, so we're going to say minus 11.
Wouldn't it be negative 6x?
Yep. You're reading
What is negative 12?
it? I distribute in here. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. So then I'm going to go to graph that. So what's my y-intercept of the line?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. So we're not going to be able to fit too much here, but we can count by twos. So 2, 4, negative 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So put negative 11 here. And then our slope is negative 6. So I'm going to hit an issue because if I try to go down 6, I'm going to run off the grid. So instead of going down and to the right, how else can you move for your negative slope? Right?
Up and to the left.
Up and to the left because left is also a negative direction. So if my slope is negative 6, I can go up 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Left 1. But oh. There's a different way to graph it.
Aren't we counting by twos though? So.
Yeah, good point. So then I can go up 3. 2, 4, 6 over 1. Yep. You didn't have to graph it this way. You could have found this equation. You're given a coordinate point. You can plot negative 2 down 1, and plot that point. Look, it even plots on the same line. And then you can move your slope of negative 6 over 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 1. You're going to get the same thing. So you don't have to translate it into slope-intercept form. I did just to familiarize yourself with, they're really the same thing, they're just written different ways. So you can graph it with this coordinate point using that slope and you're fine. Or you can rewrite it, because some of your homework questions ask you to rewrite between forms. But they're just different forms that show you different things. One form shows you a slope and an intercept, the other one shows you a point and a slope.
Where did you get the first coordinate?
This,
No,
that's my y-intercept. So when I'm in slope-intercept form, we know that this is the slope, and we know that this is the y-intercept. So then I went down to negative 11. Yeah,
Where did you get the first one then?
hold on. I think someone raised their hand in the chat, but I can't. If you have a question, you can unmute or type it. I don't know what happened.
I accidentally hit the button.
Oh, okay. I'm like learning. Like the hand raising thing is new, so I'm like learning the sounds, and then I'm like, oh no, I need to answer something. Someone's at my hand.
What hand raising?
You can raise your hand in the Google now, and it makes that ding sound. But it's the same ding as if you send a message. So then I'm like trying to decipher between did someone raise a hand or did someone send a message.
How do you raise your hand?
There's just like a button. But it's new, I guess. I don't know. I just found this out second period. So you can raise hand. It's just gonna show up down there. See? But yeah, I didn't. But it's the same sound that when you guys send a message. And I don't like when you guys send it and then I like see it way later if I want to answer it. Anyway, this point, Rose, is just this coordinate point.
But wouldn't that be negative 2 up 1?
Oh yeah, so up here. Negative 2 up 1. Do the same thing. That is on the same line. And then you would move with your same slope. So down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 1. Get the same point. Are we good with that?
Wait, how did you get from negative 11 to the one right up from it?
Because in slope intercept form, I see the slope here, I see this, or I see the intercept here, I see the slope here. So then I plotted my intercept and then used my slope to make the next point. So if I would go down 6, I would fall off the graph. So down 6 and right is a negative slope, or up 6 is left. So I went x up 6, left 1. Because my slope was negative 6.
So you can just like assume that it's 6 over 1.
I think that's a whole number. Your slope, your horizontal change is 1. Yep. Okay. This is the last one. I think. Well, we'll decide. The graph shows a figure RSTU. Write an equation in point slope form for the line containing side TU. Okay, so we're looking at this line here. If I'm in point slope form, you need to know a point and you need to know a slope. So what is a coordinate point on that line? What are the coordinates of it?
4, 2.
So my coordinate point for point U is 4, 2. So I have my point. Now I need to know the slope. What is the slope of line TU?
1.
So if I go from T to U, I'm going up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3. 3 over 3 simplifies to 1. Once you have your point and once you have your slope, point slope form is the easiest way to write an equation. Y minus your y coordinate equals your slope times x minus the x coordinate. That's it. Do the same thing for ST. We need to write an equation of a line containing ST. And change the color. It's too light blue. So anytime it gives you an equation, a form of an equation, it tells you what you're gonna need. So if it's in point slope form, you need to know a point, you need to know a slope. So what's a coordinate point that we know?
4, 8.
4, 8. What is that? S?
Yes.
So S has coordinates 4, 8, and what's the slope of the line?
-1.
Right. So if I count, and when we're finding slopes, always left to right. So from S, I go down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3. So -3 divided by 3 is -1. So then I just plug right into the formula. Y minus your y coordinate equals your slope times x minus your x coordinate. That's all it is. Is the shape a parallelogram? What does it mean to be a parallelogram?
2 of the sides never touch each other.
2 of the sides never touch each other. So you have the shape, opposite sides are parallel. So I need to see if my opposite sides are parallel here. So we already found that this slope is -1. We already found that this slope is +1. So check your other slopes. Tell me if it's parallel. What's the slope of RU? What's the slope of RS?
Miss Landon,
Yeah, Carly.
for B, would you be able to find the coordinate for T and then do it that way?
Yep, you could write the same way. So here, I'll pick a different color. Show you what it would look like. So if you picked, so what's T, like, what's 5, 7? Right? No, 7, 5. Flip flop. 7, 5. So then your equation would be y minus 5 equals -1 times x minus 7. Do the same thing.
What's this called again? Like slope form or something?
Point slope.
Can you use this if you don't know what the slope is? Okay.
Point slope form is only useful if you know your slope and you know a coordinate point. Slope intercept form is most useful if you know the slope and you know the intercept. Is my shape parallel? Oh, you were answering that, Abby.
RU is -1, RS is.
Correct. My opposite sides have the same slope, so yes, it's parallel. Okay, that was kind of a review of some graph stuff. Okay, I'm not doing example 4, because that's too much. I have to think about, there are some homework questions that you're gonna skip. because we didn't talk about writing something in standard form. So anything on your homework that asks you to write in standard form. So 1B, skip. This is everything you're skipping.
We have to do two.
2C. That's it. Okay, I'll tell you more than that. So we're not doing question 4, because I think the third form is gonna end up being too much. So skip 1B in the homework, skip 2C in the homework.
And all of fourth. Or
No,
Is it
sorry,
on
I meant
this?
example 4. Yeah, I meant 4 in the notes. Sorry, thank you, because they might be confused about that too. You're doing 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the homework, you're just skipping 1B and 2C. I'm not doing example 4 in the notes. Because I'd rather you just get started on the homework. And I think the standard form stuff is just gonna, I don't think it's necessary. I'm just gonna add more information. So things that are already confusing. But you guys at home, more than that, you're free to stay in here for the next 5 minutes, you're free to sign out. And then I will see you all virtual on Monday. It's gonna be very lonely. That's what, is that, were you talking about that? The good thing about being with no masks? Were you talking about that this morning, or was that somebody else?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, so I said, and we don't have to eat at 10:30. Or we can eat at 10:30, but we can eat like normal breakfast type food instead of lunch.
Oh, I have Miss Bond for PE and I wasn't here last Friday, so I haven't been to PE yet.
no.
I think I'm just in the same place, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Caroline. It's due Monday. If I ever hit the wrong date, your homeworks are always due the next study hall class period. So I might, I don't know, if there's a lot of buttons, there's a lot of classes to press, I might press the wrong thing. But it's always the next day. Even if it comes through on my end and says return it in late, I don't know. That's not really what it is. Don't worry about it. Stop.